families since long before he became a dad himself. As mayor, he created universal pre-K for our neighbors in San Antonio. As HUD secretary, he ensured affordable housing for the most vulnerable Americans. Alongside the Texas Civil Rights Project, he fought to make sure migrant families are treated like human beings and not subject to cruel practices like family separation. Look, we all know it, but this man knows it deeply, that robust voting rights underlie just policy. Our democracy cannot work for the people. It can't work for our dads, for our moms, for our kids, for our partners, for me, or for you, unless each and every one of us has equal access to the ballot box. That's why he's here today. And so I hope all of y'all will join me in wishing a huge Father's Day welcome to Secretary Julian Castro.
Hello, Texas! First of all, thank you very much, Mimi, for your kind words, but even more importantly, for your great work in protecting the civil rights and voting rights of every single Texan. Let's give her a great round of applause. I also want to thank Beto O'Rourke and Powered by People for organizing this event. Thank you, Beto. And to all of the organizers and the activists, let's give them a big round of applause for pushing back and fighting and raising their voice. I also want to thank all of our legislators, many of them were here, who fought and fought and fought and used every tool in their toolbox to say no to voter suppression during the legislative session. Happy Father's Day, y'all. I'm lucky to be here today with my wife, Erica, and my daughter, Karina, and our son, Christian, who is 6 years old. You know, like many of y'all, my family's history in this state goes back a long way. In fact, this year it's 99 years since the grandmother that I grew up with came here from Mexico. And when my grandmother got here from Mexico, you could still walk around downtown San Antonio and see signs on the storefront windows that said, "No Negroes, no Mexicans or dogs allowed." And because of the hard work of so many people of different colors and different backgrounds, people from throughout this state and throughout this country, many of whom Reverend Waters mentioned, because of that, 2 generations later, my brother can serve in the United States Congress, and Beto and I can get to run for President of the United States. We have so much to be proud of, so much progress that we've made over the years. In the last 15 months of this pandemic, we've seen more than 600,000 lives lost, an economic recession that's put a lot of people out of work, and a lot of people on the brink of eviction. And also a renewed push for racial justice after the murder of George Floyd. If we realize one thing after all of this, it's that we're all in this together, that we're going to rise or fall together as a people, and that the future belongs to those states and those nations that can find a way to make it work for everyone. But instead of embracing that, the leadership of this state has chosen to divide people at a time when everybody should have health care. They're in the Supreme Court trying to take it away from people. At a time when our children need to learn the lessons of the past to truly appreciate one another and build a better future. They don't even want people to learn about the lessons of Martin Luther King Jr. At a time when our nation is declaring Juneteenth a national holiday, they want to scapegoat and divide. They can't even keep the power on. They can't even build an electric grid, but they want to build a wall that nobody needs in the state. And it's because they're so disconnected from the needs of everyday Texans of every walk of life, throughout this state, of every background, because they know that they can't meet their needs, because they're so determined to hold on to their grip of power, that they're trying to rig the system to stay in office as long as they can, trying to suppress the vote to make it harder, especially for black and brown communities, to vote in Texas. And we're not going to let them. We're going to fight back. We're going to say no. And we're going to show up. We're going to support our legislators who do. We're going to support the great work of the organizations here. We're going to make sure that we register people to vote. We're going to make sure that we show up to vote. Change is coming to this state, whether they like it or not, thanks to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. There you go. Thank you.
Hey y'all, how's everyone doing? Love to hear it. So my name's Rayhan, I'm with the Texas Freedom Network, and our mission is to make Texas a more just, more fair, and more equitable place for everyone.
Let's do it!
But we can't do that without the right to vote, right? Exactly. So I'm asking you to call, text, send a carrier pigeon to our senators. Let's get H.R. 1 through the Senate and onto President Biden's desk. And now, to introduce somebody who's been a true champion for voting rights, here's Bob Kafka.
Thank you, thank you. You may not be able to see me, but you can hear me, and there's an ASL interpreter for those who cannot hear. I'm representing Rev Up Texas, also the Adaptive Texas. We're a disability rights organization. We're part of a national movement that's all over the country, promoting the involvement of people with disabilities in the electoral process. You may not know it, but there are 38 million eligible voters in the United States. There are over 3 million eligible voters with disabilities in the state of Texas. We believe it's a constitutional right. When the Constitution was written, the preamble, "We the people," was actually written by a person with a disability. Governor Morris from Philadelphia had a wooden leg, and he participated and drafted the preamble, "We the people." Is that not why we're here? Are we not? People with disabilities has been fighting for access for years. Over the last 3 elections, people with disabilities have come out fighting access problems both at the polls and also in mail-in ballots. And what Texas is doing, Georgia, Florida, and all the other states are inhibiting not only people of color, low-income Texans, but people with disabilities and their families. And that we're organizing under the rubric of Rev Up Texas, which stands for register, educate, vote, but most importantly, use your power. Use your power. And that is why we support federal legislation So individual battles which we will fight will not be the only way. We need all tools, and we need federal legislation to give us the opportunity at the grassroots level to use our power. Thank you. Rev up, rev up, rev up.
Thank you so much.
Right?
Yep, start again.
Do I wait or not gonna wait? Hola, hola. Hijo, it's hot out here, but we're here. We're here. My name is Gloria Gonzalez Dolakia, and I represent JOLT. JOLT is a Latino civic engagement organization that's empowering the voice and the vote of young Latinos across Texas. I have the honor today of introducing Mr. Gary Bledsoe. He's the Texas president of the NAACP. He has a long history of fighting for representation of black and brown voices. This legislative session, we've heard him loud. We've heard him clear. SB 7 had no representation of black and brown voices. Please help me have a nice welcome for Mr. Gary Bledsoe.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Texans. It is only befitting that Texas is now at the center of a discussion in this nation. You know, 150 some odd years ago, Texas was the very last state in the Union that continued to fight Northern troops to prevent the reunification of this country. There is something that's in the water here where we simply want to be different and don't want to treat minorities correct. You know, over 150 years ago, General Grant had to send in federal troops because the Texans were trying to deny African Americans the right to vote after they had been freed. You know, it's something that has been a tradition in this country, and especially in this state, that we need to stop. I have an open appeal. I have an open appeal to the people of this state, and that is, if they're going to do it to me, they will do it to you. You know, today they are trying to take away my voting rights, trying to make me into a second-class citizen. But tomorrow, my friends, it could be happening to you. They'll take away your right to have clean air. They'll take away your right to worship the religion of your choice. It doesn't stop, because if we don't stop it now, we will not have a democracy. Sadly, I look at the actions of our governor, and him deciding to defund the legislature was an act that is completely illegal and unconstitutional. The state constitution is clear. If people walk out like those courageous legislators that we need to be exalting, we need to applaud them. It's the legislature's prerogative to do something and not the prerogative of the governor. The people of our legislature represent the people of their districts. They do not represent the governor of this state. So, my friends, Martin Luther King once said that a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And you know, in discussing what's actually going on in this state, I heard the words of a wise person, a rabbi by the name of Neil Blumhoff. And Neil Blumhoff said, you know, my brother's problem is my problem. So I reach out to the people of Texas, and I say to you, I have a problem. But to my brothers and sisters in Texas, I need you to help. Because if they take my voting rights today, indeed, they're going to take something from you tomorrow that is of great value to you. So Texans, brothers and sisters, please come and join us in this fight. because we need you. We cannot do it alone. Let's pass H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, because indeed that will help turn the tide and make us continue to have voting rights in this country. Thank you very much.
You got it. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I'm Royce Brooks. I'm the executive director of Annie's List, a statewide organization with a mission to elect Texas women. Y'all, the fight we're in today started a long time ago. In fact, nearly 60 years ago, my grandfather, Marion Jack Brooks, stood right here at another rally, speaking out in favor of voting rights. And I'm proud to carry on his fight and also outraged that I have to stand right where he stood, asking our elected leaders to respect our basic right to vote without barriers. Y'all, this is the civil rights movement of the 21st century. And SB 7 is a naked attempt to rob us of our rightful power. I'm here today to introduce the leaders in this fight. The Democratic lawmakers who made history by standing up and walking out on an egregious attempt to rob us of our votes. They stood up to the majority and they said, we will not be silenced and our communities will not be trampled. It is my honor to present to you today Texas Black Legislative Caucus Chair Nicole Collier, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Representative Trey Martinez Fisher, and House Democratic Caucus Chair Chris Turner. Let's welcome our champions.
There you go. Thank you.
Y'all looking good today. So let me just give you a brief intro of who I am. I am freshman state legislator Jasmine Crockett out of HD 100, Dallas, Texas. Where are my Dallas folks? Yes. All right, so sadly enough, I came in and I was green as green could be. I thought, man, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're gonna focus on healthcare. I thought, man, we had the El Paso shooting, so we're gonna do something about guns in a smart way, right? I thought our economy is struggling, so we finally would have an opportunity to be smart about marijuana, stop incarcerating people for it, and make sure that we start making some money for it. Wait a minute, that's how I felt on the inside too. And then the reality sank in. The reality sank in, and there was a turning point for me when we were debating HB 1927. That was the permitless carry bill. I know. And I had some colleagues that thought, we'll be smart. We'll at least put some amendments on here. Some amendments that say white supremacists can't have firearms. Because after all, we put in there that gang members couldn't. But sadly enough, that was voted down. That was a slap in my face. From my colleagues that allegedly were my friends, it became clear what the mission was going to be this session. So then, that's when I decided it's all out war. Let's go. So, here it is. I'm like, why are we sitting here for this? We need to go. Forget them. We're not voting against this, but we don't have the numbers. The only thing we had the numbers to do was to walk out. And sadly enough,
you know, God bless the senior leadership because they're way smarter than I am, I promise, right? But they were trying to talk to people. They were trying to negotiate. And I said, it's become evident that they're actually just terrorizing us. I'm not talking and negotiating with terrorists. It's time to get walking. And that's what we did. But we didn't stop there. I was blessed enough to go with my colleagues to D.C. And we sat down in Manchin's office. And let me tell you something, there's going to be a movement in this country because of the work that we did. So I look forward to you hearing Philip Collier.
Friends, we are here on this hot, humid Father's Day to use our collective voice for good. You know, for too long, Texas has been leading the way to oppress the votes of its citizens. From purging the voter rolls of those with Hispanic surnames to throwing the book at women of color. We know that Texas will go to great lengths to depress the votes of those who live here. They will depress our right to vote. That too. We still have one of the lowest voter turnout in the nation. We had 60% of eligible voters vote in the last election, compared to the national average of 66%. Instead of automatic registration or online registration, we have to sign up 30 days before the election. Voting should not be that hard. We don't need to give more power to partisan poll workers, criminalize minor mistakes. We don't need to add a bunch of red tape just to the voting process. In fact, you know, soon it'll be easier to carry, open carry, than it is to vote in Texas. Last week, I joined my colleagues in Washington, D.C., and we asked Congress to pass the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I and 4 of my legislative colleagues, we sat down with Senator Manchin, and we looked him in his eyes, and we told him, if you don't act, if Congress does not act, millions of Texans will be left vulnerable and subject to the continued assault on our right to vote. But today, we affirm that we will continue to work to preserve our precious right to vote and dare those who are hell-bent on taking away from us to come and take it. Because we won't back down. We won't back up. And we won't back out. Stay the course, my friend.
How's everybody doing? I heard a rumor. Is San Antonio in the house? Because I know Laredo's in the house back here. First, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. But speaking from my own family experience, I know there are lots of mothers, lots of grandmothers. This is your day too. So Happy Father's Day to you too as well. I'm here with my wife Liz, my daughters Francesca and Camila in the back. But we're here because the stakes are too high. It has never, ever, ever come to a point like this in our nation where we are fighting. We walked out of this house proudly, but it was the equivalent of crawling on our knees, begging Washington, D.C., give us federal voting rights relief, and let's do it now. And I'm so proud of the men and women that I serve with in the House and the Senate. Let me tell you, when we descended on our nation's capital
And when we were walking the halls of the Capitol, Rayburn, the Hart Building, the Russell Building, we said to ourselves, this isn't that hard. If only we had one of our own in the United States Senate, things would be different. Because meeting after meeting after meeting, senators from across this country said, I did not know you couldn't vote by mail in a pandemic in Texas. They said, I didn't know you couldn't vote by mail if you had a job and you couldn't leave work in order to vote. Because in our states, we let people vote. In our states, the more people that vote, democracy wins. That is what we're fighting for here in Texas. And so now, this is a very big week. We don't have a filibuster, but we used our walking filibuster to bring this to the nation's attention. We are here right now because we do need a For the People Act. We do need it now. This is a big week in the Congress. When we go home today, let's do our part to call our members of Congress, make those phone calls, make your voices heard, be on digital, be active, be engaged, because we will change the face of voting rights in America, but it's going to be done here because Texas is leading. Thank you very much for everything you're doing. That's right. Let us vote, and let's keep it going. We are bringing up our House Democratic leader from Tarrant County. Everybody, let's make a lot of noise. Representative Chris Turner.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give it up for Representative Trey Martinez Fisher. How y'all doing? Wow, what a crowd. I can't see to the end of it. This is amazing. Beto, thank you. Thank you, Power by people. We're putting this together. This is amazing. Listen, my name is Chris Turner. I'm the chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus. And if I have one thing I want you to remember today, the way we defeated the voter suppression bills in the Texas legislature is Democrats were unified. We worked together all session long. It was a team effort. Every single member of the Democratic caucus in the House and the Senate played an important role. So thank those representatives and senators when you see them. And several of them are here today, and I just want to call their names real quick because they deserve recognition for all their work. Representatives Jessica Gonzalez, John Busey, Michelle Beckley, Trey Martinez Fisher, Jasmine Crockett, Gina Enosa, Cheryl Cole, Nicole Collier, Barbara German Hawkins, Donna Howard, Alex Dominguez, Richard Raymond, Christina Morales, Terry Mesa, Marianne Perez, Celia Israel, Aaron Zwiener, Petty Morales Shaw, Liz Campos, and we're also joined by Senator Royce West and Senator Jose Menendez. And if you're a representative and I forgot your name, or if I didn't see you here, shout it out right now. I think I got everybody. All right. Listen, I'm going to just leave you with this. There's a lot of talk in Washington, D.C. right now about how to do what needs to be done, pass H.R. 1, the For the People Act, and H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And when I had the opportunity to talk with some senators last week, including Senator Manchin, I know that there's real desire to do something on a bipartisan basis, and I respect that, and I told them that. But I said, what I need y'all to understand and recognize, the Republicans in this building right here are not interested in doing anything on a bipartisan basis, particularly when it comes to suppressing the vote of Texas voters. They have one mission. It is to make it harder for people to vote so they can hang on to power, so they can continue to deny health care to our citizens, so they can continue to underfund education, and they can continue to keep minimum wage at $7.25 an hour. That is what this is about. That is why we have got to vote, and we got to fight these voter suppression bills, and that is why we need Congress to act now, pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and pass For the People Act. So, It's my privilege now to bring up two great leaders from our state, Texas Democratic Party, the Vice Chair, Dr. Carla Braley, and the Chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, Gilberto Hinojosa. Give them a warm welcome.
Hello, Texans. How are you? I'm Carla Braley, and I'm with the Texas Democratic Party, and I am so glad I'm here with you. Wouldn't want to be any other place today. I do have my daughter and her friend because democracy is at stake, and I want her to be able to see what we all do. 365 days of the year it takes us to protect our vote. W. Du Bois told us in the 20th century that the problem of the 20th century was the color line. It was racism. Shortly after that, years after that, Barbara Jordan told us that in order for us to have the economic and political power we need, the key is education. All of them are under attack now. And I tell you that if we don't stand today, then when will we stand? Ann Richards told us that they can dress it up with lipstick and call it a hog, but guess what? It's still a pig. What do I mean by that? Some of you are saying, why that? Why that? Because we had slave laws, we had Jim Crow, and now we have SB 7. And you all, it's not going to fly. I'm going to now bring up our chairman because he's working with all of us to create good trouble in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Today's Father's Day, right? And I want to thank all the fathers that are here today and all the family members that let them come today because it was important for us to do this. Today is Father's Day for me too, but I got to celebrate Father's Day 3 weeks ago. I was on the phone with my daughter, Gina Hinojosa, on the 30th, and I was talking to her about what was going to happen. And all I could hear is growling and mad and really pissed off state representative from Austin saying she wasn't sure yet. And I called a couple of times after that and didn't hear her. She wouldn't return the phone call. I went to sleep, woke up at 5:30 in the morning, turned on my phone, and lo and behold, they had walked. And that was my Father's Day present 3 weeks earlier. My daughter was right there with all these state representatives who are the heroes of the state of Texas today. They started a movement all across America, a movement that had not gotten fire yet. They had passed voter suppression laws in Florida. We couldn't do anything about it. They had passed voter suppression laws in Georgia. We couldn't do anything about it. All over the country, the Republicans were rolling over our people. But in Texas, we stood up and we said, hell no! This is a fundamental right. Lyndon Johnson, right after the Selma brutality, where hundreds and thousands of African Americans who were marching for their right to vote were beaten brutally. And when he came out the next day, he talked about this most fundamental right that they were fighting for and protesting for. And he said this: they did this in the name of the right to vote, the most fundamental right that we have. And in that name, Americans have fought and died for 2 centuries, and tonight, all over the world, they stand as guardians of our liberty, risking their lives. We have soldiers all over the world today, people who have fought, who came back from wars wounded,
both physically and mentally, who many did not come. And they did that because they wanted to ensure that every single American had the right to be able to decide who their leaders were. And these people over here on the other side are trying to stop us from doing that. And that is wrong. That is un-American, and that is against our democracy. So let's go out there and fight, win this fight, make sure that we meet the challenge that these brave soldiers, men and women who have fought for us all over the world, presented us with. God bless each and every one of y'all.
All right.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Ana Isabel García. Me acompaña hoy mi hija Carolina Isabel. Somos miembros activas del Proyecto Defensa Laboral. Defensa Laboral es una organización estatal dedicada a generar poder para los trabajadores de salarios bajos e inmigrantes en Texas para lograr mejores condiciones laborales.
Hello, my name is Carolina Isabel. This is my mom, Ana Isabel Garcia, and I am a proud member of Worker Defense Action Fund. Workers Defense is a statewide organization dedicated to building power for low-wage workers and immigrants across Texas to win better working conditions.
Gracias por estar hoy aquí. Nuestras comunidades debemos ser capaces de generar poder político y hacer nuestras voces valer y que se escuchen en las urnas. Por eso hoy estamos aquí reunidos para demostrar una vez más que unidos hacemos poder. Y unidos podemos lograr grandes cambios.
Our communities must be able to build political power and make our voices heard to all the valley. That's why we are here today, to show that when we are united, we can create powerful changes.
Trabajadores de Comunicación en América es uno de nuestros socios en el movimiento laboral. Ruth Cummings es el presidente del Distrito 6 y defensor de los derechos civiles, Coalición Sindicalistas Negras y del Instituto de Philip Randolph. Es un honor para mí presentarlo hoy.
The Communications Workers of America are one of our partners in the labor movement. Ruth Cummings is the Vice President of District 6 and a longtime champion of civil rights, alongside CWA and NAACP, Coalition of Black Trade Unions, and the A. Philip Randolph Institute. It is an honor to introduce him today.
Por favor, únase a nosotros para darle la bienvenida al señor Ruth Cummings, por favor.
Please join us and welcome Mr. Ruth Cummings. Más y más vencidos, unidos.
When we fight, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight. Hello to all of you. Let's give Beto a round of applause. Thank you, Beto, for everything you're doing. Hey, listen, I have someone special with me today. You don't have to come up here, baby, unless you want to. This is Ruth Cummings. Let me tell you why she's special. 56 years ago, Ruth is from Selma, Alabama. 56 years ago, Ruth and her brothers marched for us to have the right to vote. They marched around buildings. They marched on Bloody Sunday. She watched her brothers come home with blood from being on Bloody Sunday, trying to stop our right to vote. We're not going to allow that to happen here in the state of Texas. We're not going to do it. Those who marched on Bloody Sunday did not know if they would see the results of what they were marching for. But let me tell you this, we don't have an Edmund Pettus Bridge, but we got a Texas Capitol. We don't have police that are going to stick dogs and stick water and water hoses and do awful things to us. But we have legislators in there that are trying to take away our right to vote. We are not going to let Ruth Cummings down. We're not going to let her brothers down. down. We're not going to let Martin Luther King down. We're not going to let all those brave citizens who marched, shed blood, so we would have the right to vote. I'll be damned if we allow them to take away our right to vote. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Because when we fight, we. When we fight, we. When we fight, we. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deanna LaFay, and I'm the state coordinator for Black Voters Matter. Thank you. We are so excited about the work that we've been doing in Texas. A lot of what we do is focus on the Black community, but then also rural communities in Texas. We know that oftentimes rural communities do not get the love that they deserve, right? And as my generation embarks on our own journey towards expanding voting rights, it's necessary for us to reflect on where we've come from. Young folks my age and under must constantly remind ourselves that our political roots were born of hope long before fear became our norm. Today I'm here to introduce one of our champions, someone who's been extremely vocal about the need to expand voting rights, especially for minority communities. He also understands the importance of pressuring corporate entities to hold themselves accountable for the power they hold to invest in and influence elections. We desperately need this type of direct and consistent leadership now more than ever. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Lloyd Doggett.
Thank you so much. Hello, Texas Patriots. Yes. Here are the patriots who are defending our democracy instead of subverting it. You've come out in this big Texas heat to turn up the heat on the voter suppressors, and we're going to keep the heat turned up. And I'm here to honor all of these state legislators. They are Texas tough. They came to Washington last week and they turned the national focus on Texas and voter suppression. They sat down with Joe Manchin and they talked with him. And when they left, Joe Manchin for the first time came out with a new bill, a narrow bill that focuses on voter rights and stopping partisan gerrymandering. It's not everything we want, but I was reminded of that Stone song. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you can get what you need. Well, what we need is for Joe Manchin to now make an exception to the filibuster rule that has set us back so far. Because Mitch McConnell's immediate reaction was that he was against this too. Of course, he's part of a party that is soft on sedition, soft on violence, caught up in fantasies, and is against most everything. Wed not so much to a political party as a cult around a failed wannabe tyrant. And how about this governor? He is always about intimidating people. But you know who's intimidated? They're intimidated by you, by the thought that we would be empowered. And so if we continue to work together and register and organize and elect no matter what the laws are, we can triumph for a better Texas. Let's never give up and never give in. Thank you.
You good. You got long legs.
Thank you.
That's good.
I'm Emmett Schelling. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the executive director of the Transgender Education Network of Texas. We have worked tirelessly this last session to defeat anti-LGBTQ bills in this very building behind me. And within the state of Texas, we are Black, we are Indigenous, we are people of color, we are immigrants, we are voters, and we matter. this last session, the session before that, and the session before that, we have seen an unprecedented attack on transgender Texans. And I am proud to say the man I am about to introduce, Senator Royce West, was there with us. Every step of the fight that we have had, he has stood up for what is right. To my knowledge, he is the first senator to say on the Senate Senate floor, Black trans lives matter, because he knows when all Texans are stronger, Texas is stronger.
Thank you. Hello, Texas! Texas Democrats! Look around. Look at each other. This is what America looks like. Republicans, get used to it. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth weekend. You know, when we begin to think about where we are today, I don't blame the Republicans. Yeah, get quiet. I blame us. We need to do what is necessary to turn out the Democratic and the independent base in order to take over this building. We're talking about it today, but when we go home, you must double down. Help make certain that we get the 2 million votes that we're after. Registered. And not only get them registered, but get them out to vote. My Hispanic brothers and sisters, in order for Texas to turn the way we want it to turn, you must vote. Enough with the talk. Enough with the talk. I want you to do several things. When you get back home, make certain that you get involved in registering voters. Number two, as it relates to the state legislature, I want you to show up and show out. The fact is that we're going to have a legislative session where we need you here in Austin. We need you at the various committee hearings, and we need you to make certain that you're calling, that you're using your social media platforms as it relates to each and every one of these legislators. I can tell you now that the vote in the Senate was 18-13. 8 Republicans, 13 Democrats, split along partisan lines. We've got to make certain we put as much pressure on them as possible. You know, we fought for the civil rights movement. We fought for the right to vote. We fought for fair housing under LBJ. And now we've got to fight. If they could fight to do the things that they've done along with Martin Luther King, I know that we can fight in order to make a difference and turn Texas the way we want it, turn it blue.
Thank you. Texas voters, let me hear ya! First of all, if you're feeling hot, we got water all up and down this lane, so make sure you grab some. Stay hydrated. We want you healthy in the fight. My name is Charlie Bonner, and I'm with Move Texas. We are a nonpartisan nonprofit working to build political power for Texas's young people, and we have spent hundreds of hours in this building behind us, turning out thousands of young Texans to speak out against racist voter suppression. And we're doing it because it is on our generation to finish the fight of those before us. We have a moral obligation to win this fight. So I want you to repeat after me. I believe that we will win. 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 Thank you. Let's keep that energy going as we welcome my friends from the House Elections Committee, the Honorable Representative Michelle Beckley, John Busey, and Jessica Gonzalez. Thank you.
Okay, we give you this. We give you this.
Alrighty. Wow, you guys, I am Representative Michelle Beckley, and I want to let you know that elections is a team sport. Yeah.
And we may be the quarterbacks, but you are the rest of the team, and we can't do it without you. And how do I know we can win? Because I won in 2018 in Denton County. I am the first Democrat on my seat ever. So where is Denton County? I know y'all were coming. Where are you in this crowd? Yes. And when we can flip Denton County, we can flip the entire state of Texas. But what we need you to do is help us with that fight. And I'm talking about my committee because we can't do it alone. We were the front lines. We got that bill on the last day. We disrupted them so Beto couldn't even speak. We were so good. That is how good me, Jessica, Busey, and Fierro, who's not here, but he's in El Paso. Shout out to Fierro because we can't do it without you, Art. We disrupted when they wouldn't let Chairman Nicole Collier speak. I gave her microphone so that she could speak. It disrupted, and then Beto couldn't talk because we won that night. And we just keep winning, and we're going to keep winning. And I think my time is up, so I'm going to let you guys go. What we need you to do is register voters, become a DVR, register in the rural areas, everywhere. We need you registered. Thank you, and I'm going to introduce John Busey next.
How's everybody doing? Let me ask you a question. Can y'all see that house across the street? Wouldn't the governor's mansion look a hell of a lot better if it had a pro-voting rights Democrat living in it? I am so proud to serve on the elections committee along Representative Gonzalez and Beckley and Fierro. We have fought hard every single day this session. It is a combat sport to be on the elections committee, and thank you all for continuing to show up. At the very beginning of session, the Republican-appointed Secretary of State told us that the 2020 election in Texas was secure, that it was smooth, and that it was a success. And how did our Republican colleagues respond? They filed 65 voter suppression bills this session. That's more than Florida and Georgia and Arizona and North Carolina combined. Everything is bigger in Texas. If Senate Bill 7 had passed, voter suppression would be bigger too. We told them that SB 7 was an attack on souls to the polls. We told them that SB 7 would lower the threshold to overturn an election, and then they voted for it anyways. And now they're in the press telling people they didn't know that was in the bill, as if last-minute additions to the biggest voter suppression bill is somehow still warranted of their vote. We need you all to keep showing up. We've got an amazing special guest, VIP right here, Lucy Baines Johnson. I want to say, when LBJ passed the Civil Rights Act, he lamented that we would lose the South for a generation. But he did it anyways. Political consequences be damned, because the fight for voting rights and civil rights is never on the negotiating table. We must continue to fight. We must kill SB 7. We've done our part. Texans stood up by walking out, and now Congress must respond. We must pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the For the People Act. Beto O'Rourke, thank you for all you've done for us. Everyone here, keep showing up, keep fighting. Texas Democrats are never going backwards. We're moving forwards here. We're going to win this fight. Thank you all so much. Now let's hear from Representative Gonzalez.
All right. Make sure you catch me, Busey, if I fall. Wow. I'm going to say that I'm a daddy's girl, and so I was feeling a little guilty because I couldn't spend the day with my dad, but I look out at this beautiful crowd, and I know that my dad, he knows how long I've been fighting for voting rights, and there's nowhere else that he'd rather me be today. And so thank you, because we can't do this without you. We can't do our jobs without you. And for those of you who are here, those of you who are watching virtually, we can't do this without you. So stay in the fight with us. Now, what's clear about SB 7 is that it was built on lies. And it was built with the intent to discriminate against people of color, our senior citizens, and our disabled community. That was made very, very clear. Now, those of us in the Elections Committee, we saw that firsthand. Despite being disrespected, being silenced, we made a commitment to each other that we were going to fight every single day for every single one of you and for every Texan. And that is exactly what we did every single week when we showed up to committee. And we agreed that despite the gains or the losses that we were going to have in committee, that we were going to be proud of this effort, and we were going to be proud of each other. And so I'm very proud to serve with Michelle Beckley, with John Busey, and Art Fierro, who's not here today. And we're going to continue fighting for you on this bill, or when we get called back for a special session on this bill. You're in good hands, and you're in good hands with all the other members that have spoken here today. We're all in this fight together. And that's why we had to make a decision to kill this bill. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what we all did that day. And we'll continue to fight for you until we have a seat at the table. And so you heard that many of us went to D.C. last week to talk to Congress, talk to the Vice President Harris about the importance of having federal intervention. But we need you. We need every single one of you to join us in that fight, because we can't do this without you. We need you to pick up the phone, to call Congress members, to tell them how important it is before it's too late here in Texas. We need this to happen now. We need you to help us register voters, help educate voters, so this doesn't happen in the future, because elections have consequences. And so I promise you, we all promise you, that we'll continue in this fight with you until the very end, and we'll get this done, because I know what it looks like when Texans stand together and when Texans fight. So thank you. Next, I'll pass it over to Raven Douglas from the Future Project. Back to Charlie.
You're good. Woo! All right, let me hear you again, Texas voters. Give it up one more time. We still having a good time out there? All right, now I am absolutely honored to welcome our next special guest, the daughter of a voting rights president, a true Texas president. Please join me in welcoming Lucy Baines Johnson.
Texans, today I can't be with my Father, who is in heaven, I firmly believe. But I know that He is up there applauding every one of you for being here. And especially applauding the Texas legislators who stood up for democracy and refuse to deny the vote to all of our people. 56 years ago, I stood behind my father when he signed the 1965 Voting Rights Act into law. Texans have stood up before for social justice, and with your help, we'll do it again. I'm so proud of you and the power of the people and Texas Civil Rights Project and the Voting Rights Project, all of which I've been a small but a very enthusiastic part of. And I just want you to recognize that there are lots of us out there who appreciate those with eloquent voices for speaking up, but your voices, every single person's voice in this audience tonight, is the voice we needed. We did it at Selma. We can do it again. God bless you. Is that a minute?
Yep.
Let us vote. Let us vote. Hey, y'all. My name is Raven Douglas, and I'm a youth voting rights advocate from Houston, Texas. And I just have a quick message for all of you today. So often throughout my career, I'm constantly being told that young voters, that black and brown voters, that we're apathetic, we don't care, and we don't care about our votes. And I'm here to tell everyone today that that narrative ends right now. Look at all the young people out in this crowd. Look at all the communities of color that are here leading this movement. We are here. We are ready to show up. We know that our votes matter, and we are not going to back down. With that being said, without further ado, I would like to introduce my friend and a fighter for true democracy and for Texas voters, the former Congressman of El Paso, Beto.
This is what democracy looks like. And this is what fighting for democracy feels like. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's tough, it's loud, and it's no accident that we held this rally for American democracy right here in Texas on the longest day of the year. It's going to take every waking moment from every single one of us to see this through. But I have faith and confidence in every single one of us. We are the people that this country has been waiting for right here in the great state of Texas. This state has perfected the means of suppressing the vote, of keeping some down to the benefit of others. We did it violently at the end of Reconstruction. We did it again in the 20th century with the all-white Democratic primary. We did it through the instruments of Jim Crow, the poll tax, the literacy test, that tell me how many jelly beans are in this jar before I allow you to register to vote. We've done it ever since 2013 and the Shelby decision, when this state closed 750 polling places, twice as many as the next closest state, most of them concentrated in the fastest growing black and brown neighborhoods of Texas. It is this that you can prove who you are at the polling place